All right, what's up, my brothers? So in this one, I've got a thread that I want to read to you, and the title of it essentially is, and I've retitled it, I wish my girlfriend had banged 50 more guys before I committed to her. Let me read the thread and let you know exactly what happened, and we'll provide you some prescriptions and some actionable advice on how to deal with something like this. So this is an online post in a Am I Overreacting category. And these ones I find very interesting. Their post online is, Am I overreacting for breaking up with my girlfriend over saying I have had my fun, quote unquote. So it says over here in the relationship category, that's what she said that broke me instantly. This came after a group discussion with her that had to do with hookups. I asked her to clarify what she meant by that later, and she said that she's glad that she had fun sex with hookups and that she's glad that she can settle down with somebody more secure and available. I told her that I basically find that extraordinarily offensive, and right then and there basically ensured that there would, for the rest of our relationship, forever be an imbalance. I rejected all hookups as I wanted intimacy to be for those I loved, whereas she had a bunch of hookups, loved it all, and then settled for me, who she basically implied was a downgrade. She thinks it's absolutely insane that I'd leave her over this, but I personally can't fathom saying. I mean, to put it quite bluntly, I felt like the biggest bitch after she said that in front of her friends. I think the relationship and the one you want to spend your life with should be the fun part. Why would I want to stay in what's basically become an entirely one-sided relationship where she's reminiscing on the fun that she's had while I'm actively trying to make those great memories with her? I'm sorry, but F that. Why should I be happy knowing that other guys got super fun, wild times with her after knowing her for a couple of hours, whereas I, the guy who's been giving her my absolute 100%, get the mediocre, tired version? How am I supposed to feel like I'm not putting in 10 times the effort as these other guys were receiving 1/10 in return? I think what he's saying there is that he's making considerably more effort than the other guys that got her best very cheap. It's been said that the more she likes you, the less that you'll end up paying for the intimacy. Carrying on, it says, like, I'm sorry, but I simply find that way of thinking simply incompatible with long-term relationship, especially as someone who has never and will never give myself sexually to somebody casually. I just feel like there always would be an imbalance. I mean, what's done is done already, but I'd love to know if this is an overreaction or not. Now, he has an edit here because there's almost 2,000 comments on this post, a ton. It says, it's not just about sex and intimacy, it's about how she views it. She had her fun, now she wants to settle down with me. I don't agree with that. I think the relationship is the fun part. I think getting in a relationship is when the fun should start ramping up and get more exciting. She obviously thinks the exact opposite. Now, my friend, I don't think that this is an overreaction. This is a very normal and consistent reaction from what I've seen with guys who are dealing with women over the long term when they learn about their woman's past, their very colorful past, if we can put it that way. And it's pretty consistent. You know, women are known for the most part in their 20s to spend a good deal of that time discovering themselves, climbing the corporate ladder while getting degrees, traveling the world, experiencing the world, and sharing their bodies with a lot of men figuring out what they're looking for. The problem with that more sort of recent sexual strategy that women are using nowadays is they end up in their 30s, usually at some point, or maybe even early 40s, very desperate, very demanding, and really pressuring a guy to commit to her so that she can start the serious phase of their life, if you will. You know, they have an epiphany. They see their girlfriends, their sisters, their cousins getting married, they start having children, and they want the same thing too. And they feel a lot of pressure. You know, I've called this baby rabies before. You know, women sort of get a little mad in the head and they really start to go and seek very intentional types of long-term relationships. This is also, by the way, when they start making rules for other men, like, I'm not going to sleep with you until 8 dates, or I have an 8-date rule before we'll sleep with somebody, or I want to wait at least 3 months so I can, quote unquote, get to know you to see if you're serious about me. And they do that because they realize that they've made the mistake of, you know, just indiscriminately sharing their body with a whole bunch of guys routinely. And that didn't work out for them. They didn't get what they wanted. In fact, in many cases, they find themselves alpha widowed, where they essentially have not been able to lock down the guy that they preferred, demanded, or if I could put it this way, was their first choice. And again, you know, they don't make any rules for those guys. They easily, you know, 15, 20 minutes after meeting them at the nightclub and the foam cannon party in Cancun or Ibiza, very enthusiastically share their body with that guy and do everything with him. Sometimes more than one guy, simultaneously. Women like to experiment and sort of discover themselves. And that disgusts a lot of guys. Like I said from the get-go, the way that I would title this is essentially, there is no guy in history. And if you really think about this, these words are very true. You cannot dispute this. You cannot argue this. I would happily debate anybody on this topic. There are not many guys out there that would say, golly gee, Rich, I wish that that my wife or my girlfriend had slept with 50 or 100 or 500 more guys before I had met her. Most guys are disgusted by the prospect that their woman had been with that many guys, and often far more enthusiastically with them getting their best with the other guys than what the marriage-minded guy is giving to their wife at that time, perhaps the mother of their children. It's not a good look. Women would be wise, if you're a lady watching this video right now, women would be wise to revise their strategy. So if you're a younger woman, or if maybe you're a mom or a sister and you got a younger sister or a sibling, to counsel, your younger sibling with some sage advice around the notion of prioritizing family formation, not prioritizing the other things that we talked about earlier: partying, degrees, climbing the corporate ladder, sharing your body with a whole bunch of guys. And then in your 30s, making a long list of demands. And we see this on social media all the time nowadays. Women will say, you got to be this tall, and you have to make this amount of money, and you got to be nice, and you got to be kind, and you got to be good with kids and cats and dogs, and love my family and love my friends, and buy me flowers, 15 times a year. They have a long laundry list of demands, and women would be wise, obviously in a far better position to make these demands when they're younger. When they're younger, they're more valuable, they're more beautiful, and that's essentially when they're in a better bargaining position to get what they want. You see, what ends up happening normally is women get their fourth or fifth choice when they wait till their 30s. Because the guys that got her best at a discount very quickly, without any kind of rules, didn't commit to her. And they're not interested in her. And they're generally not wanting to settle down with a woman that's, essentially been village bicycle. They're disgusted by it. All men generally are, with some rare exceptions. I know somebody's going to point to, well, what about so-and-so who's a blah, blah, blah? And they're usually a cuckold. They're the kind of guys that like to sit in the corner chair in a hotel room and watch some other guy, service their wife or girlfriend. It's a weird fetish, but there's a small percentage of the population that likes that kind of stuff. So guys, it's not wrong of you to be disgusted or upset or put off by a woman, that is essentially behaving that way or has behaved that way in the past, and they want to get right. Or they usually, I've gotten right with God, or I found God or Jesus or something like that. And, they'll go and repent for their sins, sort of thing. And maybe Jesus will forgive these hoes, but it doesn't mean that you should, guys. So with that being said, gentlemen, the secret to you getting what you want out of the sexual marketplace so that you don't have to settle for the village bicycle, if I can put it that way, is to focus on prioritizing your looks and your value. If you're as handsome as you can possibly be, you're going to be spoiled for choice. You're going to be the one that's the selector on the sexual marketplace. Your value, on the other hand, is something that you have to build over time. I've said this many times. Women are born inherently valuable. They're beautiful. They're pure. And that value starts to go down over time. They usually peak on the sexual marketplace in their early 20s. We talked about that before. Men, on the other hand, they have to build their value over time. They have to create wealth. They have to become competent. They have to become resourceful. They have to develop renown for themselves. They have to create some sort of value, if you know what I'm saying. And when your value is high and you're also handsome at the same time, guys like that, they don't settle for village bicycles. They don't settle for women that have been through a whole bunch of guys. They don't settle for women that make rules for them. I've said this before, women will make rules for beta males, and they'll break rules for guys that are alpha males. Like we said before, you're always going to pay with women, but the more she likes you, the more that she pursues you, the fact that she has genuine burning desire, if I can put it that way, the lower the cost or the greater the discount. So there's that to contemplate as well. Guys, focus on your value. Women, you should be prioritizing family formation and finding a good, successful guy in your early 20s when your value is highest. That usually means you're going to have to find a guy that's older than you. And as far as guys that are at their peak of their value in your 30s, again, my advice is don't waste your value on the village bicycle. Put it into a woman that has prioritized having children, family formation, and wanting to pair bond with one guy. There's lots of data in my books, the Unplugged Alpha, the first volume, and the second volume is Top Shelf Man. I just recently released that. My editor will put those up on the screen. You'll also find them pinned below in the top comment. You want to check those out. And if you have enjoyed my videos, my work, my books, and you're a regular viewer of the channel, I'd encourage you to check out my School of Unplugging. It's a valuable community. It helps support the creation of my work, and you're going to find some of the best content that I've never published publicly, including a 3-hour vetting course, which helps you with the selection process with vetting for an LTR if you're that kind of guy that wants to find wife stock or mother stock, if we can put it that way. So take a look at the School of Unplugging. That's pinned below. We'll see you guys later. Have an awesome day. Peace out.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up.